Memorial Day, observed on the last Monday of May, honors the American servicemen and women who died in military service. Yet, it also lays bare the treachery of corrupt, callous leaders, presidents, politicians, and generals, who sent young men, often teenagers, into avoidable conflicts driven by stupid planning, ulterior motives, and suspicious circumstances. The American Revolution stands alone as a necessary fight for liberty, led brilliantly by General George Washington against insurmountable odds. Every war since, sparked by questionable pretexts or outright deception, reflects a legacy of incompetence and betrayal that Memorial Day demands we confront. The American Revolution, a noble triumph against overwhelming odds. The American Revolution, 1775 to 1783, was a righteous, necessary struggle to secure independence from British oppression, pitting the fledgling colonies against the world's most formidable military. Facing crippling taxes, denied representation, and British garrisons, the colonists had no choice but to rebel. General George Washington's leadership was nothing short of extraordinary, blending strategic brilliance with battlefield valor. His innovative tactics, guerrilla ambushes, hit-and-run raids, and calculated retreats, exploited British weaknesses, as seen in the 1776 Trenton Raid, where his daring Delaware River crossing captured 900 Hessians with near-zero losses. The 1777 Saratoga Campaign, orchestrated through Washington's coordination with General Horatio Gates, secured French alliance, showcasing American resolve. His personal courage at Princeton, rallying troops under cannon fire, and his morale-building presence at Morristown's brutal winter inspired a ragtag army of farmers, merchants, and militias. This diverse American military, bolstered by local knowledge and fierce determination, gave the colonies a tactical edge despite Britain's superior numbers and discipline. Total victory in every instance was impractical against such a juggernaut. The American military's decentralized structure and undertrained soldiers contributed to both successes, like the guerrilla raids in the Carolinas, and defeats, such as the 1776 loss of New York City, where coordination faltered. Minor errors occurred. The Battle of Long Island saw Washington's forces outmaneuvered, due to inadequate scouting rather than personal failure. The Valley Forge winter of 1777–78 reflected logistical challenges under General Nathanael Greene, compounded by limited funds, British blockades, and militia desertions. Forward-thinking strategies, like expanded spy networks or standardized skirmisher units, could have saved lives, but these lapses were understandable given the Revolution's chaotic start. Washington's genius and the colonists' resolve triumphed, though smarter planning could have spared thousands. The Civil War, a catastrophe of ineptitude. The Civil War, 1861–1865, was a preventable disaster born of political cowardice and military stupidity. Presidents James Buchanan and Abraham Lincoln failed to avert division, with Buchanan's inaction emboldening Southern secession and Lincoln's rigid commitment to the Union rejecting compromise. Multiple paths could have avoided this catastrophe. Instead, leaders dithered, plunging the nation into a war that obliterated communities, wrecked economies, and sowed enduring discord. The national trauma, from divided loyalties to lost generations, stunted America's potential, making the war's necessity a cruel farce. Generals compounded the tragedy. George McClellan's cowardly refusal to engage at Antietam, despite a 2-to-1 advantage, squandered thousands of casualties in a day. Ambrose Burnside's suicidal charge at Fredericksburg, ignoring Confederate entrenchments, killed thousands of Union troops. General Ulysses S. Grant's reckless assaults at Shiloh, misjudging enemy strength, cost thousands more. These boneheaded decisions, driven by ego and incompetence, turned a preventable conflict into a bloodbath. The Spanish-American War, a pointless disaster. The Spanish-American War, 1898, under President William McKinley, was a pointless exercise, justified by the USS Maine's explosion, likely accidental, not Spanish sabotage. Generals' egregious failures caused massive suffering. General William Shafter's boneheaded oversight of Cuban camps, lacking clean water, tents, or medical supplies, left most of his force sick with yellow fever and malaria. His chaotic assault at San Juan Hill, ignoring reconnaissance, led to preventable ambushes. General Nelson Miles' Puerto Rico campaign, hampered by his refusal to coordinate with naval support, stranded troops without food or ammunition. These stupid decisions, rooted in logistical neglect and overconfidence, wasted lives for territorial gains that served no national purpose. World War I, a wasteful European slaughter. World War I, 1917 to 1918, entered under President Woodrow Wilson, was a conflict irrelevant to U.S. security. Wilson's idiotic decision to sail ships through German U-boat zones, when safer routes existed, provoked the Lusitania's sinking. The Zimmermann Telegram, a 1917 German proposal to Mexico for an anti-U.S. alliance, was exaggerated to justify war. General John Pershing's boneheaded trench warfare tactics, ignoring Allied lessons, led to massive losses in the Meuse-Argonne offensive. His refusal to integrate U.S. troops with seasoned Allied units caused coordination failures. Wilson's globalist vision and Pershing's arrogance sacrificed American lives for no American gain. World War II, a war marred by stupidity and misplaced priorities. World War II, 1941 to 1945, was plagued by leadership failures and questionable priorities. The Pearl Harbor attack was suspiciously foreseeable due to ignored warnings, with Admiral Husband Kimmel and General Walter Short leaving defenses unprepared. In the Pacific, General Douglas MacArthur's boneheaded failure to secure the Philippines led to the Bataan Death March. Admiral Chester Nimitz's misjudgment at Midway deploying vulnerable torpedo bombers and Admiral William Halsey's reckless pursuit at Leyte Gulf risked catastrophe. In Europe, President Franklin D. Roosevelt's two-front strategy diverted resources from Pacific retribution. Generals like Dwight Eisenhower and Omar Bradley launched high-cost operations. General Mark Clark's Italian stalemate wasted thousands. Roosevelt's terrible diplomacy sent Americans to die in Europe's quagmire instead of focusing on the Pacific and U.S. borders. The Korean and Vietnam Wars, pointless escalations with suspicious roots. The Korean War, 1950 to 1953, and Vietnam War, 1955 to 1975, under Presidents Harry Truman and Lyndon B. Johnson, were senseless. In Korea, intelligence failures ignored Chinese buildups. General Douglas MacArthur's boneheaded march to the Yalu River provoked China's entry. Static defenses at Pork Chop Hill achieved nothing. In Vietnam, the Gulf of Tonkin incident, based on dubious reports, justified escalation. General William Westmoreland's idiotic search and destroy missions, like Hamburger Hill, epitomized futility. General Creighton Abrams' Vietnamization collapsed. Suspicious escalations and CIA-orchestrated coups destabilized allies. These wars, driven by globalist and corporate interests, betrayed soldiers for no gain. The post-9/11 wars, suspicious origins and feudal occupations. The Afghanistan, 2001 to 2021, and Iraq, 2003 to 2011 wars, under Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, Donald Trump, and Joe Biden, were launched amid suspicious 9/11 circumstances. Missed warnings about al-Qaeda flight training and security lapses suggest gross negligence. General Tommy Franks' boneheaded Iraq plan fueled insurgency. General Stanley McChrystal's restrictive rules handcuffed troops. General David Petraeus' surge gained fleeting ground. General Mark Milley's idiotic Kabul withdrawal left service members dead due to unsecured perimeters. Soldiers faced absurd constraints while aid went to corrupt warlords. No victory emerged. Afghanistan fell to the Taliban, Iraq birthed ISIS, serving defense contractors, not America. The American-Iranian War, another terrible foreign entanglement. The American-Iranian War, launched with a sneak attack that immediately failed to meet its objectives, represents yet another disastrous example of incompetent leadership dragging America into a pointless foreign conflict. Iran was fully prepared for this invasion on its home soil, turning the operation into a grinding quagmire that is already beginning to drag on with no clear path to victory. This war follows the same pattern of stupidity and betrayal as all the others. Instead of securing America's own borders, leaders chose to send young Americans into another Middle Eastern disaster. Compounding the insanity is the fact that Iran has over 1 million citizens dispersed throughout the world, with around 750,000 already living inside the United States and Canada. While America fights this foreign war, Iranian nationals and military-linked individuals, along with millions from every other country, continue pouring across open borders. Foreign military individuals from Iran and elsewhere are now inside American communities. Rather than removing these threats and securing the homeland, corrupt leaders are fighting and losing yet another overseas war. This is the height of treachery, sacrificing American lives abroad while the country is actively invaded at home. Leadership failures, a legacy of betrayal and treachery. The American Revolution, though necessary, exposed minor flaws dwarfed by the treachery of later wars. Presidents from Lincoln to Roosevelt to Bush and beyond launched conflicts under suspicious pretexts serving bankers, oil tycoons, or globalist agendas. Generals failed spectacularly through cowardice, neglect, obstinacy, arrogance, and logistical stupidity. The bloated military bureaucracy enabled this betrayal, prioritizing profits over lives. The same callous pattern continues with the Iranian disaster. Memorial Day's profound lesson. Memorial Day honors the brave but indicts the corrupt, conniving leaders who betrayed them. Every war since the revolution was an avoidable tragedy driven by lies and incompetence. The same treacherous leaders, presidents, politicians, generals, and the military's corrupt bureaucracy, rule today and have now dragged America into the Iranian failure. Conclusion. Memorial Day 2026 is a call to action. We must hold accountable the corrupt leaders who have squandered lives for centuries. Prioritize diplomacy through strength, strategic restraint, decisive annihilation when necessary, and above all border security. Stop fighting endless foreign wars while the homeland is invaded. Until this corrupt structure is dismantled, Memorial Day will remain heavy with the names of heroes who didn't need to die for the treachery of terrible leaders. Let this day ignite a commitment to a stronger, safer America, where no young man dies for lies, profit, or stupid foreign entanglements.